Finding Balance. Speak with Frode. Check in with Frode at Moon Camp to update him on recent events. Okay. Recent events, you say? Well, I guess we can get this. How do we get there? I want this waypoint. I kind of want to explore around here until I can find it. I don't know if I'll be able to find it, but I'd like to try. Maybe it's down below. Broken fishnet. It doesn't look like I can get there from here. So I guess we go back to the waypoint and we try to get over here. If we can. Excuse me. I can't tell if it's above or below. And maybe it's above, actually. So the waypoint, or the point of interest we want to get to is over here. Ah, being attacked by something. Maybe if we go this way, we'll get to it. Is it up there or down here? Has to be up. It appears that it's inside a cave. Can that be true? Ugh. It says it's below. I haven't been able to suss it out. Well. How do I get in there? Maybe... Maybe there's an entrance near the waterfall or through the cave. Maybe the waterfall. No? It doesn't look like it. Oh well. It'll probably just end up being the last thing that we do. I don't think we can get this cache yet. No, we can't. Okay, so let's backtrack a little bit. Definitely want to get this. We need to meet up with Frode. Where is Frode located? Frode is right back here. Do we meander or do we go see Frode? I have a feeling that going to see Frode will force us to meander anyway. I wasn't able to get that POI last session. I thought I'd try again. Sup?
Right where I left you. Tell me you've pulled yourself away for a meal at least.
Wayfinder, there's been plenty to keep me busy of late, though I don't need to tell you that.
Afraid this won't settle your nerves any. We had another brush with the Titans.
Titans? So Isgarn was correct. You'll love that.
2 in total, and they're working together. Greer, who we thought previously defeated, and Decima, a lightning conduit.
And how did this battle fare?
Brutal, but useful. we discovered a possible vulnerability of the Titans, a fragile inner core. The Claw's son was injured blocking an attack, so our battle was cut short. Brave. And stupid.
A sentiment completely alien to the two of us. How's he doing now?
On the mend. We made it to the village healing master in time to treat him.
No easy task, carrying a grown Kodan to safety. And what did you say was used to treat him?
I didn't. The healing master is versed in some level of recovery magic. Trained in the Shiver Peaks, apparently.
Interesting. I suppose healing magic would be less frowned upon than the more ostentatious schools. Can never be sure who knows more than they're letting on. You're a reader, yes? I was reading a fascinating book earlier. It's upstairs. You should give it a look. And, act natural.
Discover the journal entry written by Askaran. Okay. Borrowed journal. Waiting Sorrow has left us. She left a note. She left Dagda a note. I must be swift, should Askaran catch on to my plan before I am able to depart. What am I? A creature of nightmare. Do they writhe when I speak? Do they flee when I move? The court is quiet today. Dagda fled to the observatory. Mabon is disappointed with my reaction. Perhaps screaming until I opened a portal to the domain of anguish. Was a tad ostentatious. The emotion that lingers at the pit of my stomach is repentance, mostly. Sorrow is simply a harbinger of my prior mistakes, my negligence. When she came to me, goodness knows. Well, before the gods doomed this place, I saw someone struggling, and I chose to help her. A voice on the verge of Koda's rage. Who knows what she would have done had I not ascended her and severed that connection. Sidonie never thought of me the same after that. I imagine my saving Sorrow was the final straw before exile. I have often thought of my choice as naive, and at other times I've wondered if the elder races were too protective of magic. But I turned her immortal. I gave her access to immense power to save her life. That shouldn't have been my choice. I let her roam on her own for a long, long time before she and Vas joined us. And when I saw how powerful she'd become, I couldn't let her go again. She knows this. She's grown more and more unpredictable over the centuries. She even claims to see flickers of her life before ascension, when the Kodan split between Janthir and Or. I could tell it bothered her. I could tell she yearned to help her people when they were clearly splitting apart. But she's a figure of fable now to them. What if she were to reveal herself as the missing voice to their ancestral claw? The claw that determined the fate of all Kodan when he moved them to safety. She'd cause riots. They were already fragile enough. I need time to think about my next steps. Oh, new PB32K on Power Tempest. I don't use Glyph of Storms though. Interesting. That's pretty good. 30k is a pretty reasonable benchmark, Max. If you can hit that, then you're in good shape. Where to next? Meet Poised Arrow at the Harvest Den and talk to Stoic Elder together.
Yes, we've got Astral Ward at every lowland outpost. They've got 3 main establishments. The main village, harvest den, and 2 more farther west. They're hunting and fishing outposts.
How are they liking the added company?
Well enough. Anxious, but we're keeping our numbers low. This isn't a takeover, after all. Just an outreach mission.
Good, good. Have the waypoints been deployed?
Yes. That has been another subject of debate. As you warned, they are not eager to use our magic. Though some are quite curious, the key is respecting those boundaries.
Good enough. Keep it up.
Even though Glyph of Storms deals a lot of damage, I very frequently use Glyph of Storms in Earth as a blinding field when dealing with trash enemies.
Journeykin, I heard that one attacked a scouting party. The one was quite...
Normally, if my son came home injured, I'd question in whose company he was engaging in such reckless behavior. But since your arrival, Wayfinder, there is no question.
Stoic Alder.
Pa, I told you, the fault is mine. I didn't respect my limits. The Wayfinder reminded me it's all right to step away. Pa, I'm okay. You should have seen the Wayfinder out there. Never witnessed a stoic warrior turned into such a kindly mother hen. Checking my wounds, aiding my exit, all with concern in the voice and a tear in the eye.
Might be a bit of an exaggeration.
Regardless, my son requires time to recuperate, as does the ecosystem. The Titans have done a number on our community. Initiatives are underway in Moldering Greenwood and Stricken Plains to restore the local flora and fauna. Wayfinder, any additional aid you may provide would greatly benefit our restorative efforts.
Say no more. Happy to help.
Damn, these bears are hella thick. Where am I going? Finding Balance. Assist in restoration efforts. Use your war claw to sniff out and rescue ailing animals hiding in moldering greenwood. Use your war claw to collect vulnerable seedlings covered by wildfire ash in the stricken plains. Okay. I'd probably die way more if I took out Armor of Earth, though. Are you using Warhorn? So, another thing that I do is I use... If I'm training raids, don't tell anybody I told you this.
Fired up.
This conversation never happened, okay? Just between you and me, lol. So, Glyph of Storms is really important because Glyph of Storms in Earth is a very, very long blind field. Aftershock gives Aegis, and so I can swap these out, you know. But this is very good. So this setup, I have the Storm, Sandstorm, Armor of Earth, and Rebound are very, very good. Because if I'm going to be like really inconvenient with my positioning because I'm new to something, then I'd rather just be able to break myself out of being mezzed or knocked down to continue my rotation, or like guarantee overload with Rebound or Armor of Earth especially, but sometimes all we need is Eye of Storm. Sometimes all I need to do is like dodge something, Eye of the Storm, and then just be wary of casting Eye of the Storm during Overload Air, in the same way that I can cast Armor of Earth during Overload Air if I think I'm gonna get interrupted. And so this loadout is kind of like the safety strat loadout, because a dead DPS is no DPS. And even though this is more damaging, if you're dealing with some heavy-hitting trash mobs, and you swap to Glyph of Storms and use that, it lasts forever. It lasts for 10 seconds, and it blinds 5 targets over and over again. So, in terms of effective HP, if you're getting attacked by like, say you're getting attacked by like 5, maybe 10 elite enemies, and you activate Glyph of Storms, and you're just standing there like dealing damage to them, like they're gonna get no value from their abilities or skills or attacks. And so that's a real safe place to be while casting Overload Air. So I would just, you know, consider these options if you don't already. Where was I? Finding Balance. Scepter Dagger. Damn, 3 stabilities. It's important. Like, Overload Air is the bulk of the damage. If like the rotation had to prioritize a skill, it would be the Overload. And so if that gets interrupted, it sets back so much damage that it's not worth it getting interrupted. Yeah, if I'm new to something, I'm gonna run that and just kind of be a scuffed DPS until I'm like aware of the mechanics. That way I can understand where I need to time my stuff and then go back to double Glyph of Lesser Elementals. Do we go through the portal? Portal to Janthir Sentry. I guess we do. Yeah, so safety strats are like, how can I keep this short? Elite parsing doesn't make room for error, but if you fail once, it's not elite parsing. So don't try to run like speed strats if you're gonna fail once. It's not a training run, unless it is, in which case like do whatever the hell you want. But if I'm gonna be new to something, I'd rather just be a scuffed DPS that doesn't die and, you know, contributes effectively, understanding skill priority, than optimizing benchmark utilities within a world record structure, which just doesn't make any sense like at all. That's me personally though. Your mileage may vary. Who actually cares? I'm not sure many people do. Use your Warclaw to sniff out and rescue animals. Okay. I'm sniffing. Ooh, there's a thingy back here. It showed up as a thingy. I guess I don't see it anymore. It tells me that there's something over here. Maybe it's just the area it wants me to go to. Guess I gotta go over here and find out. White Mantle. When I first timed strikes, I could not do a rotation at all during mechanics because I looked at my cooldowns too much and I kept dying. So I just sat on fire and hope no one notices. I feel like 18k DPS is better than not dying wiping. Yeah. So when Heart of Thorns was the only expansion out, the players that I ran with commonly talked about Warrior. So like Warrior was kind of like, I don't want to use the words because it's vulgar, but let's just say it's Boon B, okay? And because Warrior had to bring all sorts, ooh, there's an enemy here that wants to fight. Because Warrior had to bring so many flags, I guess they're called, in order to buff the team. I don't think that that's what it does anymore. I don't know. I haven't played Warrior for a while. But Warrior, like, had to... ooh, what's this? Collect. Warrior had to sacrifice their utility and selfish damage options in order to buff the team, which was, like, meta. And so the Warrior's playstyle lended itself to... Ooh, what is this? Your Warclaw uses its mighty paws to dig for treasure. I'm digging for treasure. So, the Warrior having to carry boons nerfed its individual damage potential. And this put it at about 20k. And so the logic was, if you're going to do less than 20k, you shouldn't be playing DPS because you could be playing something else. And that something else would like be like a support option of something like a Warrior, or heal was a Boon Revenant at the time, I guess. And some rotations are just a lot easier, and so this also still maybe happens today, although I don't understand the culture very much nowadays. I've just been out for like 3 years. But essentially, as I see it, 20k is a pretty standard amount of DPS. If a player contributes 20k and like we're casually doing like a safety strat raid clear, I don't mind having them there. It's if they're doing like 10k that I really have a problem. Like even 15k, if they're doing 15k in my group, and I don't know, it's been so long since I've like hosted a pug or whatever. But training is also, you know, it's kind of irrelevant. If you're training, you shouldn't be expecting to get a kill on any raid boss. It's just like learning positioning and how to optimize DPS. But if a player is determined and they know the encounter and they're contributing 20k, then like the DPS check outside of Zera, yeah, I think outside of Zera, it is not really that bad. I guess Gorseval is kind of another one. If players are hitting like, if all the DPS players are hitting 10k, Gorseval's impossible, I think. So certain encounters just represent a DPS check, which means that it's impossible to complete it unless you have like a certain threshold of damage. But most encounters do not really force us to have like a DPS check, so we can just have a longer encounter and, you know, just benefit from safety strats and everybody just kind of hanging out. It's not that really big of a deal to have super high DPS. It becomes a big deal when you're parsing it, if you're using parsing strats. If you're doing parsing strats and you're in a group with everybody else that adheres to that, then you pretty much kind of need to be near the upper end of the benchmark in order to compete and to contribute effectively in those paradigms. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about like getting experience in raids, and contributing effectively would, in my estimate, maybe something's changed, but if anything's changed, the power creep has increased the DPS for all the players. So it's actually a lot easier now to raid and do like dirt DPS than it used to be. In the past, it's more like, well, if you're not doing more than 20k, can you play warrior, because we need this clear. Get off that character. Figure it out, is how it felt. I think now, with how many different power crept options there are amongst all classes, and with the boons being split, another thing to remember is when I was raiding, you had to play Chrono in order to play tank. You didn't have the luxury of playing anything else, and alacrity and quickness were exclusively granted to the Chrono spec. So if you wanted alacrity and quickness, you needed to play Chronomancer. There needed to be 2 Chronomancers per group. So I come from a different lineage of the game, I guess, in terms of raider. I'm very scuffed now at raiding, but yeah, it's a lot less stress, as long as you're mindful of the metrics and you're open to feedback. I'd much rather have somebody who's hitting 15k but they're coachable than have somebody who's hitting 20 or 30k and like not communicating that they don't know certain mechanics. So you just being able to ask questions is like very like helpful for anybody that you would be dealing with, I think. So don't sell yourself short. I'm supposed to be on the Warclaw. Yeah, I feel like I need to get used to the mechanics first before I can drop big DPS numbers. Yeah, I don't know. So without mechanics, it's always been influenced, that it's 50-50. I've been influenced to know that it's 50-50. If you don't know the mechanics, like Amalgamate on Wing 7, I think it is, it's just a giant wall that you DPS. Another thing to consider is like DPS Golem has several options: small hitbox, medium hitbox, large hitbox. The only large hitbox in the game, at least back when I was active, was Deimos. And so if you're practicing large hitbox rotations on staff with Lightning Hammer to optimize burst damage during a tight window for Amalgam, then you're winning because you're outperforming other players' options, at least back then. And so even when staff kind of fell out of flavor and got nerfed, it was still optimal there for parsing because you can outperform any other DPS variation on Amalgam because it's just a giant wall that has a massive hitbox. So, like, to consider having top tier DPS, you have to be mindful of every single encounter, every single hitbox, every single phase timing, and all the mechanics. And so if you have 30k, I think that's enough. And you just need to start training, because it is going to take a long time to be comfortable with mechanics, and like, it's a lot of studying. Maybe you like reading, I don't know. I'm allergic to reading, bruh. So I don't like to read anymore, but, there was a time. Yeah. Training is a good place to be. Knowing a raid leader or a coach who knows, like, everything about the encounter is very helpful, although it's kind of rare. But it does happen. Whoa. Ooh, there's a thingy here. Use your claw to sniff out and rescue animals hiding in moldering greenwood. Is this an animal hiding in moldering greenwood? I don't see them. Are they hiding? Janthir grub. Ooh, there they are. Sup, bruh? Like, reading through a raid guide is fine, but I just found it very inefficient.
Storm's rolling in again, and the strangers will emerge when it does.
It's better to
Camps should brace for the assault.
It's better to walk through as much of the encounter as the group can, and to just have players see mechanics and then have questions than it is to like place an expectation on somebody to like read the entire encounter. But it depends on the style of learning that you're like best at. Some people, some human beings, thrive in an environment where they just read and see things, and you know, this visual learning, reading, writing connection genetically is more like approachable for certain people. So if that's your style, then like study up, watch a bunch of raid guides, and you'll be good to go. But I prefer more kinesthetic and auditory and visual. So more of like a hands-on learning style. And so if I can find somebody who's willing to take me through the raid and just be like, yep, don't worry, I'll tell you everything you need to know, just let's see how far we can go. Then I can leverage that build that I told you about. And just just have like all this stab. And like, yeah, nerfs my damage, but like my damage is going to be really nerfed because I don't know the mechanics. I'm like, if I can just always be able to not die and recover, then at least I can participate in 20k. You know, 20k is, I really feel very strongly that 20k is good as long as you can be consistent with that 20k. You can be consistent with 20k. There's a greater majority of raid encounters, including CMs, that you can get through without like necessarily being carried through it. So an effective contribution at 20k, you're hitting 32 on the golem, but the gap is going to be all about mechanics, like you're mentioning. Sniff, sniff. Ooh.
Not to worry. We'll get you back to your old self.
Today I learned that if I don't sniff, these little green magnifying glasses don't show up. Sniff, sniff.
You found something. Good job.
Oof. Sniff, sniff. Ooh, there's one. Since we're talking about min-maxing mechanics to skip them with DPS, which classes have you seen do the most consistent damage? So, Virtuoso is one of the most powerful classes since I've returned. It's been nerfed, and maybe it's going to be nerfed again, but it has incredible range, and the rotation is not hard. So when I when I was like first coming back to the game,
Quite a reward.
it was under the assumption that I would be vetted to try out for a certain group. And I asked them, like, which DPS classes do I need to know? And it was just a resounding Virtuoso. So Virtuoso, Power, and Condi maybe have fallen out of flavor, but if you're really sincere about knowing how to flex and min-max for raids, then all you need to do is go to the benchmarks on Snowcrows and find out what the top tiers are for Condi and for Power. And you can find that on the site. The real answer is a lot more complex than that, and essentially it's this. Every raid encounter has the potential to be optimized by swapping to a different DPS class. As I mentioned before, hitboxes matter, and also certain bosses benefit more from Condi than others. And so it's a hard sell to just play one class all the way through raids. It can be done. I think that the Engineer is a really powerful class because it has many different options, and Scrapper support is one of the best supports in World versus World. So if you want to really contribute in raids and have a strong class, then Engineer is good. But if you have ambitions in World versus World, for support, Engineer is great. The same thing happens for Guardian. If you have ambitions to support, then Guardian is great. And I mention them like this because if you can only have one class, then you're gonna get it like fully geared. I would heavily consider the Firebrand. So like Firebrand and just Guardian in general is a very strong option, like an all-in-one. It gives you access to tanking, it gives you great condition damage, it gives you great power burst, and it gives you really strong utility for your team if they need it. But on Wing 7, the sisters, are they brother sister? I think they're brother sister. It's a boss duo that requires the team to focus on condition damage. And so at some point, Condi, Scepter, Chrono support would hit like 20k plus. And that's like as a support. And well, albeit like I'm overachieving by hitting those numbers as I'm playing like tank, like you can do that, right? So it's important to consider that each encounter has the potential to be class specific, best in class for DPS, and so it's worth having at least an exotic set for power and condition for all the classes, so that you can kind of flex in and out of those things. You don't need ascended gear to join raids. I would much rather have somebody who can benchmark 75% on Golem and be full exotic than have somebody fully ascended who can only hit 10k in the encounter. Because the person that's hitting 80% of the benchmark with the exotic gear just needs to learn positioning, whereas the person who has fully ascended, you know, they've committed, they have a long way to go if they're going to be able to contribute effectively in the encounter. I think Virtuoso is a really solid pick if you want like a one-stop shop for DPS and raids. Because Mesmer also, you know, has Staff Mirage, which is a strong Condi option. And it has Condi Virtuoso and Power Virtuoso. So all you gotta do is swap your gear, and the rotations are very similar. I'm gonna get out of here after this. GG.
Here it is. No time to quake with fear.
Nice talking to you. Nice to see you again.
The strangers have woken.
Keep crushing it, bruh.
Don't worry, you're safe now.
Finding Balance. I think I'm going to leave it off there. GG, well played. Check in on your homestead. Return to your homestead to care for rescued flora and fauna. Okay, that'll have to wait for another time. Let's move to safety. Alright, GG. Adios, 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 adios. That was fun. It's heating up with these bears.